Live and unscripted from the DC metro area, this is a story of surviving and thriving after a layoff. This outdoor podcast is brought to you by atopcareer.com. Episode 12. Bumps in the road happen, and one happened to Edith too. These setbacks have the potential to become massive snowballs, so it's important to keep a clear head. In this episode, Edith talks about how to use setbacks as tools to build self-awareness.
I had a minor setback today, and I'm considering it a bump in the road that could very easily have turned into a huge snowball, rolling down the side of a mountain and gathering debris along the way. The situation was that I was in an environment where I was having a conversation with one person, and for professional reasons, I had to disclose my layoff to this person. And as it so happens, I got a bit more emotional than I intended to. And it's really embarrassing to admit that, but I'm stating it because I think other people have most likely encountered something similar and have let it get the best of them. It actually says a lot about the person I was speaking to that I felt safe enough to disclose my situation the way that I did at that moment. I definitely would not have been able to do that with a different personality type. And so I want to use this incident to talk about different personality types that you might encounter and some potentially negative reactions you might have as a result. I remember hearing or reading years ago that no matter what you do in life, there's always going to be roughly 20% of people who will be against you or will disagree with you or even just won't like you no matter what you do. And those types of negative reactions often say more about the other person than they do about you. However, we can use these incidents as tools to build and boost upon our own self-awareness and just have an understanding of how we're coming across to different people and making sure that we are generating buy-in and good feelings from the people we intend to do so with. There's always going to be people who, have an unfavorable reaction to you for whatever reason. In the situation that happened to me today, I was fortunate that the person I was speaking to was pretty understanding. And for the most part, when I've encountered similar situations in my personal life, most people have been really understanding and supportive of me. So that's good, and that tells me a lot about the quality of relationships I've developed over the years. I've been an avid student of personality psychology for the past 20 years, I'd say. And in this role, what I've learned is that it's our responsibility to adjust ourselves or flex to the other person, especially when we are in an inferior position. And asking for a job or being a job seeker is being in an inferior position. The interviewer is the person who has the power to hire you or not. So what can we do in these situations to have our best chances of getting that position that we want? Well, first, do your research. And that means to try as best you can to figure out what is this person motivated by. Are they somebody who is data-driven, or are they more about forming interpersonal relationships, doing something to support a particular organization or cause? And then take a look at your background and figure out what in your background do you have that is best going to make this person take notice of you. How can we practice doing that outside of an interview or before you go on an interview? I would say that it's a lot of your communications in your day-to-day life. So what are other people's reactions when you start talking? If they're fidgeting or avoiding eye contact or looking at their watch, these are all things that you want to pay attention to because they're signs of disengagement. Whereas if the other person is looking at you more intently, if they're asking questions that go beyond yes or no questions, that's more of an indication that you're forming a connection and therefore are going to be more likely to form a bond and ultimately buy-in and a good relationship from that person. So a person's body language can really say a lot about what it is that they're paying attention to. Are they smiling? Are they maintaining eye contact? Are they sitting or standing in a way that's closed off with their arms folded over? Making note of these things and then trying to mimic that other person's body language can be some ways to create engagement with someone else. I'm also going to venture to say that as tempting as it is to go up to people who you know and talk about your situation and ask them for referrals or help for getting a job or getting in touch with the right people, that you also need to remember to give equal, if not more time and attention to your listener. A good rule of thumb is a 60-40 or 30-70% time, meaning either 30 or 40% of your speaking time devoted to yourself and your needs, and the majority focused on the other person's needs. Know also, again, that not everybody's going to have favorable reactions to you, but that's okay. Once you gain some momentum, keep doing this and keep pushing yourself forward. Just like I'm not going to let what happened to me today stop me from doing a good job with my own job search and moving forward professionally. Any times there are little setbacks like this that you encounter, remember this. They're only setbacks, and it's not necessarily a catastrophe unless you make it so.
Find Edith online at www.topcareer.com. Thanks for listening.